Welcome to Iraqi Dinar News, where you receive real and authentic updates about the Iraqi dinar. In today's update, we're taking a closer, more grounded look at recent discussions surrounding global oil politics, currency speculation, and what it actually means for the Iraqi dinar and Iraq's broader economic direction. There has been growing chatter about the United Arab Emirates making moves related to OPEC, and some interpretations have tried to link these actions directly to currency revaluation narratives. However, when we step back and analyze the situation through a realistic financial lens, the connection is far less direct than some might suggest. The key point to understand here is that the UAE's decision-making within the OPEC framework is primarily about production flexibility, market share, and long-term energy strategy. Oil-producing countries often reassess their commitments to production quotas in order to maximize revenue, respond to global demand shifts, or position themselves competitively in the energy market. These decisions are rooted in supply and demand fundamentals, geopolitical strategy, and economic self-interest, not currency revaluation mechanisms. Another important layer of this discussion involves the role of the US dollar in global oil transactions. Oil is predominantly priced and traded in dollars, which reinforces the dollar's dominance as the world's primary reserve currency. When a country seeks more independence in its production or trade strategies, it may also explore ways to diversify its financial systems or reduce reliance on a single currency. However, this does not automatically translate into an imminent shift away from the dollar, nor does it imply a sudden revaluation of another nation's currency, such as the Iraqi dinar. It's critical for viewers and investors to separate these macroeconomic strategies from speculative narratives. The idea that a decision by one oil-producing country could trigger a rapid or significant revaluation of another country's currency oversimplifies how global finance works. Currency values are influenced by a complex mix of factors, including inflation, interest rates, foreign reserves, trade balances, political stability, and central bank policies. No single external event, especially one not directly tied to Iraq's monetary policy, is likely to drive a sudden and dramatic change in the dinar's value. Now, shifting focus to Iraq itself, the more meaningful part of this discussion lies in the idea that Iraq, and potentially other regional players like Iran, are being positioned as higher quality trading partners within the global economy. This is a far more relevant and constructive angle when analyzing the future of the Iraqi dinar. For Iraq, becoming a stronger participant in international trade involves several key developments. First, it requires continued improvements in financial transparencies and compliance with international banking standards. Over the past few years, Iraq has taken steps to align its financial system with global norms, particularly in areas such as anti-money laundering regulations and currency transfer monitoring. These reforms are essential for building trust with international partners and attracting foreign investment. Second, Iraq's integration into accepted international trade practices suggests a gradual strengthening of its economic institutions. This includes modernizing its banking sector, improving digital payment systems, and enhancing the efficiency of cross-border transactions. These are not overnight changes, but they are foundational elements that contribute to long-term currency stability, rather than sudden revaluation events. Third, Iraq's economic future remains closely tied to its oil sector, but there is increasing emphasis on diversification. Expanding into sectors such as agriculture, manufacturing, and services can help reduce reliance on oil revenues and create a more balanced economy. A diversified economy is generally more resilient, which in turn supports a more stable currency environment. When we consider the implications for the Iraqi dinar, it's important to frame expectations appropriately. In the short term, developments like improved trade partnerships and regulatory alignment may contribute to incremental stability, rather than dramatic appreciation. Stability itself is a significant milestone for a currency that has historically faced volatility due to political and economic challenges. In the longer term, however, these structural improvements could create conditions that support gradual strengthening of the dinar. This would not be in the form of a sudden revaluation, but rather a measured progression aligned with economic growth, increased foreign investment, and sustained fiscal discipline. Central banks typically favor gradual adjustments because they are easier to manage and less disruptive to the economy. Another factor to consider is the role of Iraq's central bank in maintaining exchange rate policy. The central bank uses a managed exchange rate system, and its primary goals include controlling inflation, maintaining financial stability, and supporting economic growth. Any significant change in the currency's value would need to align with these objectives and be supported by strong economic fundamentals. It's also worth noting that global investors and institutions tend to favor predictability and transparency. Sudden or unexplained currency movements can undermine confidence and deter investment. This is why most countries, including Iraq, approach currency policy with caution and prioritize stability over speculation. The mention of Iran in this context adds another dimension to the regional economic landscape. Like Iraq, Iran has significant natural resources and strategic importance, but it also faces unique challenges, including sanctions and limited access to global financial systems. Any shift toward becoming a more integrated trading partner would require substantial policy changes and international cooperation. From a broader perspective, what we are seeing is a gradual realignment of economic relationships in the region. Countries are exploring ways to strengthen their positions in global trade, enhance their financial systems, and reduce vulnerabilities. These efforts are interconnected, but they do not operate on a simple cause and effect basis when it comes to currency values. For Iraqi dinar followers, the takeaway is clear. Focus on fundamentals rather than speculation. Monitor developments in Iraq's economic reforms, trade agreements, and financial sector improvements. These are the indicators that provide meaningful insight into the currency's long-term trajectory. It's also important to maintain realistic expectations. The path to a stronger currency is typically slow and requires consistent progress across multiple areas. While it can be tempting to interpret global events as signals of imminent change, a disciplined, fact-based approach is far more reliable. In summary, the UAE's actions within OPEC are driven by strategic economic considerations and do not have a direct link to Iraqi dinar revaluation. At the same time, the ongoing efforts to position Iraq as a credible and high-quality trading partner are significant and worth watching. These developments point toward gradual improvement and stability rather than sudden transformation. As always, staying informed with accurate, balanced analysis is the best way to navigate this space. Avoid relying on unverified claims or overly optimistic projections, and instead focus on credible sources and long-term trends. Thank you for watching Iraqi Dinar News. If you found this analysis helpful, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more responsible and factual updates. Please remember, this content is for informational purposes only and should not be considered financial advice.